When it comes to Sims houses, I noticed that there's two opposite camps. You either have people that build a ton of beautiful starter houses or huge over 100,000 simoleons mansions. There's hardly anything really that you can find on a budget for your family gameplay, and so I wanted to hopefully fill that hole with this budget-friendly family house. I gave myself a budget of 40,000 simoleons and I wanted to have at least 3 bedrooms plus an office, which might have been a bit too big of a challenge, I'm not gonna lie, because I ended up having a lot of the rooms be very empty. And also this is a 2-story house. I wanted to go for this colonial style, I believe it's called. And on top of it, we're using only 2 packs. I decided to go for the parenthood one and also university because I felt like these two have the most similar style to what I was going for. I didn't end up using a lot of items from these packs, unfortunately, so I feel like if you wanted to transform this house into a base game one, you could very easily do so. I think the only things that I used from packs are like some wallpaper colors, beds, and the kitchen set. You're gonna notice that I put only the necessities first, and then whatever I had left over I decided to fill in with decorations, which is not a lot, I'm not gonna lie. This house turned out way more empty than I thought it's going to be. I think next time if I try to do a budget-friendly house, I would go for a 1-story instead of 2 stories. I think this was the biggest problem that I have created for myself with this house. And also another problem, you're probably noticing that I am changing the color scheme billions of times. I probably should have cut this out, I'm not gonna lie. Now I'm looking at this and it is a struggle. I didn't know what I want to go for because everything seemed a bit too bland. But I guess the main idea for this house was that I wanted you to have a pretty solid shell of a house, and then you can simply just decorate it however you like. So maybe the fact that it is so empty on the inside is actually a plus. You can just simply use the furniture that I put as more or less a guideline on how you can space out everything on the inside. Especially because I remember when I first started playing The Sims 4, I used to always download a house off of a gallery and then just completely scratch the interior because I would prefer to decorate it on my own. But at the time, I didn't know how to build pretty houses on the outside. Speaking of which, let me know if you would actually be interested in me building completely empty houses where I would just do the exterior of it and also the floor plan. I think that a lot of people are struggling a little bit with floor plans. So maybe I could do houses like this if that's something that you're looking for. I know that past me would definitely appreciate it because I did not know how to build houses. We have a separate kitchen connected with a dining area, and then on the opposite side of the first floor there is the living room, and also we have 2 bathrooms, which I always feel like is crucial when it comes to family houses because I feel like the bathrooms are always taken. Especially when the Sims are just getting ready to go to school or work, you need more than 1 bathroom. I didn't put a lot of things in the backyard. I think I only managed to use the budget to put some monkey bars in there and also 2 planter boxes, that's what it's called. Pottery. I guess I was onto something, but it didn't really click exactly right. Sometimes I struggle with the most basic English words, and at least I have the excuse that, I'm not the native English speaker, so I always pull that card out. I'm like, I don't know, I'm not an English speaker. But I feel like nowadays English is such a common language. I feel like people from so many different places on earth can basically speak fluent English. So I'm worried that my I'm not a native English speaker card is getting expired. If you are also not a native English speaker, let me know how you learn to speak the language. For us, we have to learn English starting from elementary school, but I believe that I started a little bit earlier. I had classes in kindergarten, and I remember that I even participated in a few contests that were, I believe, just simple spelling bees, and I even won a reward or something. And that way, by age of like 18, 19, so when you graduate high school, you can almost speak it fluently. However, on the other hand, I do believe that school is not enough to learn the language, because the way that school teaches you English is more about the technical side of it, so how to properly speak English, how to use the grammar, but not actually how to communicate with people. It doesn't really teach you the culture or the slang or even the confidence to speak English. I think this is my biggest gripe with a lot of teachers, is that they, instead of encouraging people to talk in the language, they always just make you feel inferior and tell you that, oh, that's not correct. And so no surprise that a lot of people, when they graduate high school and they don't have any other contact with the language, they still don't know how to speak it, because they were never really encouraged to learn to speak freely. But those of us who have been, on the internet ever since we were young, I feel like the language is really not a big issue at all. Heck, I would even dare to say that I've learned English thanks to the internet. I was watching so many different YouTubers and also American TV shows when I was younger, and that's why I also think that I have a little bit of an American-ish accent because of it. And I really think that a lot of people have a similar journey with learning English, that we just basically started learning it through the internet. Nowadays also streamers are very popular, right? When I was younger, streaming was not a thing. Streaming became a thing when I was already in high school. But I think it's a great way to learn the language. Heck, I even remember that I was having an English class on my master's degree, and the teacher was having a little task with us where we had to guess a word that we hear in the song, and I don't remember what word that was exactly, but it was one of the more difficult ones, and even my teacher was impressed that I knew this word. And I was just like, oh, I actually learned this word in a game, and she was extremely surprised because it's not really a word that people use on an everyday basis. Always remember that games do actually teach you quite a few things. I believe that games, not only do they teach you the language, but I also think a lot of them teach, for example, your reflexes, and for you to be able to make a decision really fast. If you're playing some sort of co-op game, it teaches you cooperation, leadership, strategy. I think that we can learn so many different things through so many different sources, and I don't know, like, let's stop saying that games are a waste of time. They're not. For a lot of people, it's their job even, and what an awesome job that is, right? I feel like I went completely off track with what I was gonna say, because I usually, before we start a speed build, make myself notes of everything I want to talk about, and I just realized I did not talk about any of the things that I wanted to talk about, and the speed build is almost over. So that's okay. I'm gonna have these notes for the next speed build I'm gonna do, and as you can see, I'm trying my best to use the leftover simoleons that we have and just get a few different toys and equipment that your Sims possibly can use. But the house still ended up being very empty and bland, so I'm hoping that this is gonna be used more as like a guideline of how you could make your Sims house look like. But if you don't like the interior, feel free to change it. Genuinely, I think that I could have done probably a better job, but I just didn't know how to use the simoleons that we have left. And now that we are finished, let me give you a proper tour. Here's the budget-friendly family home that I've built. As you can see, it is quite large from the outside, but also very simple. There's hardly anything going on in the backyard. I feel like the front looks okay. It almost looks finished, but the inside though, this is where we're having a little bit of a dilemma, because as you can see, it's very empty in here. But I focused on just giving you a good outline of what you can do with this space. So we have the bathroom, the dining area with the kitchen, and also the living room here. And then when you go upstairs, you have quite a lot of rooms, 1, 2, 3 bedrooms. You also have an office. However, if you want to transform that into like a little nursery, I think you could definitely do that. You probably have already guessed it, but it is called Family Home on a Budget on the gallery, and you can find it under my username, which is just katodeling. Considering that I'm not like 100% satisfied with the way this house turned out, especially when it comes to how empty the interior turned out, I want to redeem myself at some point and do one more family home on budget kind of like this. Though next time I'm probably gonna make it 1 story to save up a little bit of money. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.